What's up everyone, it's Jim from Backyardist TV. Today I'm going to do a video on how to set up a mixer between a gaming PC and a streaming PC. I've had a lot of questions on this topic on my stream. There's a lot of information out there. Generally it talks about how to do things quite cheaply, and what you get with the cheap stuff is a lot of noise, and so people try it. Turns out it's not the right stuff that they need, and there are ways to make it work, but you know, once you start using adapters and this and that, it just becomes a big mess, and the result is a big noisy mess. So I'm going to be talking about how I did it. I'm going to break this into a few sections. Firstly, I'm going to talk about what I did before I bought the mixer, how I mapped out what I want to do, and how that process worked. Then I'm going to talk about the mixer that I did buy, which is the Behringer XR18. It's an 18 channel mixer. It has 18 channels in, and it has 8 outputs. So the outputs, we'll talk about that in a bit. Then I'll show you how I plug it all in, and then at the end I will show you how I configure it all within the Behringer XR application. So there's a lot to cover, so let's get right into it.
So the first thing I did when I started this process was map out how I wanted everything to connect, what I had in my mind, and how I wanted that to work. So I just used Visio. You can use whatever you like to do this. I suggest you do this process before you begin. Map out all your ins, all your outs, and just get a picture of what you're trying to do. So what we've got is the game PC on the left. I've got the stream PC on the right and the mixer in between, and I've got all my ins and outs all around. So let's have a look at the inputs first. So I've got the game sounds coming out of the game PC going into the mixer. I have the stream sounds coming out of the stream PC, and the stream sounds are things like the communication programs. I run Discord or Skype or TeamSpeak. I run those on the stream PC. I also run music in the background of my streams. I run that from the stream PC as well. And any notifications that my bots might make, follower alerts or host alerts, donation alerts, things like that, that also runs on the stream PC. So all of that sound I needed to capture and then mix. So all that goes into the mixer. I also have the microphone going into the mixer, and that's it. They're all my inputs. So effectively, I have 3 sources, but 5 channels of input. So let's talk about the channels. Our game PC is stereo, obviously. We got our left and our right channel, so that's 2 channels for the game sound. Our stream PC is the same. There's another 2 channels for the stream PC. The microphone is only mono. It's only a single channel it uses, so that goes in as a single channel. So there's 5 inputs I need, 5 physical plugs that I need for the inbound. For the outbound, let's talk about that. We've got the microphone going from the mixer to the game PC, and that's for in-game comms. You know, certain games now have VoIP, and I don't want to route through the streaming PC to get the audio, so I want my mic to go directly into the game PC as it normally would. So I've got the microphone in there. That's 1 channel, 1 output. I've got the audio getting mixed from the game PC and the stream PC, everything getting mixed down, and that's going out of this game sound. It should actually say mixed sound, so it's everything from the game PC and everything from the stream PC being mixed together and sent back to the stream PC to then go out to Twitch. And I also have my microphone going back to the stream PC, and that, like I said, is for Skype and Discord and TeamSpeak and things like that. You don't want to mix these 2 and blend them 2 together, because then you have Discord people listening to you on Discord hearing the whole game PC and stream PC, the whole one big mix. You need to separate those out on 2 different channels. I have my outputs. My outputs are my headphones, so I listen to the mix, and I also listen to it through my speakers. When I'm not streaming, I have the same thing. I just run it through the mixer, and I can hear everything from either PC through the mixer, through my speakers. And when I'm streaming, I put the headphones on, turn the speakers off, and we're good to go. So if we count up the outputs, and this is the important part, how many outputs do you really need to get this done? Because the cheaper mixers generally will have enough inputs, but they won't have enough outputs, and that's where people get caught up, and then they start splitting cables and trying to use adapters to get sound going across to different systems. So let's talk about the outputs. So the microphone has 1 output for the game PC and 1 output for the stream PC. So that's 2 outputs. Okay. We also have 2 outputs for the game sound or the mix sound going to the stream PC. I say 2 because it's stereo. So if we count them so far, that's 4 outputs that we need. So one for the mic for the game PC, 2 for the mic for the stream PC, 3 and 4 for the game sound going back to the stream PC. Then I need the outputs that I hear. So I need 2 for the speakers and I need 2 for the headphones. So that's a total of 8 outputs. So once I mapped out the high level stuff, I looked around and saw what mixers would meet my needs. I found that the Behringer XR18 mixer had 8 channels, 8 outputs, and that was what I needed. It had 18 inputs, which was overkill for what I needed, but the 8 outputs is what I was after. And when you get to 8 outputs, you generally are looking at a large input level as well. So that's something to think about. When you find a mixer that has your 12 inputs, it might only have 4 outputs. So that's the key. So once I had the mixer that I wanted, I went back through and I figured out how I would plug things in. I just did it on paper. So I had the game PC coming into the mixer through the USB interface. So this mixer has a USB interface, and that pretty much acts as a sound card. So it's a digital connection between the mixer and the PC, so you don't have to go through an analog cable to get the signal. That goes into the mixer. Then I use my game sound as a line in to the motherboard, and the microphone into the mic into the motherboard of the Stream PC, and out of the speaker output of the motherboard on the Stream PC, that goes into the mixer. So Stream PC output, and that's for the comms and stuff. My headphones, I use a headphone amplifier. I've got an Oppo HA1 headphone amplifier, and that uses XLR plugs for inputs. So that works fine. The mixer has XLR outputs, so I go from XLR to headphone XLR, and I've just written that there. My speakers, I use a Corsair gaming PC set of speakers, nothing fancy. It has a subwoofer which has RCA plugs in the back. A lot of gaming speakers now have RCAs in the subwoofer, and they normally run from that RCA cable back through to a stereo jack that goes to the output of the gaming PC. So I've just replaced that cable with the XLR from the mixer to the RCA to that subwoofer. And of course there I have my microphone, and that's plugged in via XLR as well, and you can see that XLR plug right there. So that was the first step. It's very important to map out what you want to do and get that all locked down before you go out and buy a mixer. So once I did that, I went out and I bought the mixer. Let's have a look.
Alright, so here we are with the mixer in place. We'll plug this in and talk about all the inputs as we go about it. So input number 1 is the microphone, and this is just a standard XLR plug. The mic is configured, is connected to the boom stand, so I'm not going to unplug that, but you get the idea. XLR plug into input number 1. Okay, we're halfway there. No, we're not. So input number 1, that leaves us input number 2 as blank, because this mixer works in stereo, so each plug is left and right channel of the one unit. So channel 1 would be left, channel 2 is right of that group, 3 and 4 are a pair, 5 and 6 are a pair, 7 and 8 are a pair, and so on. So together it gives you 8 inputs, because there's 16 channels total. But because the mic is only mono, we're only going to use number 1. We're going to ignore number 2 for now. Next is the output from the Stream PC into the mixer. So we are using a normal stereo plug for the PC, because it goes into the motherboard, and the other end we are using TRS cables. So you just need to get the right type of cable. That'll go into the PC, into the PC's output, so as if this is where your speakers out would normally go, and this goes into channels 3 and 4 on the mixer. Okay. Next we have the USB cable. So the USB is our other inputs. That's from the gaming PC. This is the gaming PC, Stream PC, you can't really see it. So the USB out of the PC goes into the USB here, and that covers our other inputs. That covers our microphone in and our game sound out to the game PC. That's it for the game PC. We are done. And that is actually it for the inputs. We have the microphone, we have the game PC, and we have the Stream PC into the mixer. Now we've got to worry about our outputs. How do we get the sound out of the mixer back into the Stream PC? So for the gaming PC, that audio, the microphone is going into the PC through the USB cable, so that's easy, that's a win. So for the rest, let's have a look. The main out of the mixer for the gaming for the Stream PC, I get that out of the main output. Main left and right, I can't remember which one was which, but let's just plug them in and see. So main left and right, and that goes from an XLR cable back to a 3.5mm jack, just like the other one, but XLR instead of TRS cable. So that is going into the Stream PC as its input. What else do we need? We need the microphone to go from the mixer to the Stream PC. So let's plug that one in. The microphone being a mono, I've only got a single XLR plug and the 3.5mm plug for the PC again. It goes out of auxiliary 6. Don't worry too much about where I've plugged these things in. It doesn't make any difference at all because it's all computer controlled and it all makes sense. It's how I set it up in the past. We have a couple more outputs that I spoke about. I've got my headphone amplifier and I have my speakers, right? So, my headphone amplifier, that takes XLR plugs. So, I need to plug in, bear with me, auxiliary 3 and 4, okay, is what I've plugged into my headphone amplifier. So if I take that, auxiliary 3 will be the left channel. Plug it in right. There it is. Get the other side. These are really long cables because I've got my amplifiers on the other side of the desk. And auxiliary 4 is the right side. And I will plug these in to my headphone amplifier, which is on the other side. So the headphone amplifier is now active. So the last thing to do is get my speakers connected. My speakers, as I said before, they have the subwoofer where you connect the cable to has RCAs on it, and now the normally the RCA cables go into a 3.5mm plug that goes into the PC directly. I don't need that now because I'm using the mixer to output directly to the speakers, so I'm using an XLR plug to the RCA plug, which will go into the speaker box. So let me plug that in. That's going into left and right into auxiliary 1 and 2. So let me plug those in. Okay. So that's the last thing to plug in actually is the network cable, and that is just so I can actually connect to the console and configure it. So plug that in. Last thing to do is plug the power in, and it should be all okay. So we'll now jump to the PC and show how we actually configure all these inputs and outputs and make it all work.
This is the Xr18 application, and this is how you control the Behringer Mixer. This runs on a tablet or a phone, or obviously on PC. There's a lot to cover here. It looks very busy, but once you start getting your head around the functions, it's pretty straightforward. First thing to note is across the bottom we have our 16 channels, and here you've got the independent sliders for each of those channels. And I've already configured channel 1 and 2 to be microphone, channel 3 and 4 to be the stream PC, and channel 5 and 6 to be the game PC. So you might think, hold on, how did you get channel 2 to be working with the microphone? When we plugged it in, we only plugged into channel 1. So let's have a look at that. You can see over here I have a screen grab of the physical mixer, and you see there's the microphone cable plugged into input number 1. Input number 2, there is nothing in there. So how did I get that done? If you go across to input and output up here, what we have along the left-hand side are all the channels. So they correspond to the channels across the bottom. And up the top, we've got all the physical plugs, all the inputs. So what I've done, by default, channel 2 is there. So channel 2 corresponds to physical plug number 2. That's default. And you see channel 11 corresponds to channel physical input 11, right? So everything lines up. The issue is channel 2, there's no cable there. So I want channel 2 to display or to output what is coming in from the physical plug of the microphone, which is plugged into channel number 1. So I moved channel 2's input across to number 1. Okay, so now channel 2 and channel 1 both are using input from number 1. And that's how you'll see now they're both active, and that's how we get that across. Let's close that off. So once we go, if we click the channel button up the top, we go deeper into the into that particular channel. So a couple things to note here. For the microphone, My microphone uses phantom power. Just check with your microphone's instructions. If you're using a mixer at this level, you probably have a microphone that does deal with phantom power. If you have a USB microphone, you won't use any of that. Here I have a noise gate and a compressor and an equalizer, which I won't touch on the equalizer, but the noise gate, what that does is you can see as I talk, I break the threshold, and that's when my voice comes through. If I am whispering below the threshold, you can see nothing comes through. This is really good to stop, background noise. For example, keyboard clicking. Let me just press them. You can see there that you didn't hear any of that. But if I am talking and I press the keys, you can see now they're coming through. So that's good for just background noise. If you're not talking, or somebody's talking to you in the background and it's out of earshot, it won't come through on the microphone. Otherwise, the microphone will pick up pretty much everything. The compressor works almost in reverse. The compressor is for the peak sounds. So if I'm quite animated on my stream, so I'll be running along and then something will happen and I'll just scream just for the fun of it. And what the compressor does, it lowers the max peak. So as it breaks that threshold up the top, as this bar gets past it, anything beyond that starts getting muted down. The graph represents how that effect is applied. You can have it a hard cutoff, so everything will just be muted 100%, or you can have it a gradual and it just reduces the noise down, therefore the word compression. So past that threshold, it compresses the volume, the level, and it goes down so it's not as sharp and aggressive. So that's the microphone. So let's go across to the game PC next. The game PC is plugged into USB. I have a compressor on the game PC as well. The compressor is a lot higher. They've got a much higher threshold on the compressor for the game PC. That's because I don't want it to cut out, to mute down too much. I just want it to really lop off the top, the really harsh peaks in a game. There are, you'll find in games there's a very large dynamic range where you'll have really low lows and really, really high highs, and they can jump around quite a bit. So on those really high loud bits, the compressor will kick in and just tail that off a bit, just so it's not as harsh to the listener. So I have the game PC running through USB, as I said before. So how did I do that? If I go to input and output, and we'll look at USB returns, pretty much like before, I have the channels down the side, and we're looking at channel 5 and 6, and I'm using USB input number 1 and 2. So that's pretty much my USB ins and outs. It's 1 and 2. So I'm just going left channel 1, right channel 2, and that's what we got, 5 and 6, left channel 1 and 2. So if I hit a test on the gaming PC, there you go. So you'll see that that's coming through on the left and right channel, and it's channel 5 and 6, and that's what's happening there. Okay, let's close that off. Next one is the stream PC, and this is just coming in on 3 and 4 channels. If you recall, over on our physical device, we've got our 3 and 4 channels for our left and right from the stream PC. So that's a straight mapping, nothing fancy happening there. Next thing we need to talk about is the outputs. We've spoken about all the inputs. We've got the mic in, we've got the stream PC in, and we've got the game PC in. How does it all get back out? Over here on the right-hand side, we have our output. This is our main output section. So if we look at our physical device again, and if I scroll across to the outputs, I have our main output, main left, main right, and that is going, those cables, if you remember, is feeding back into the stream PC. So what this is telling me, anything on this screen here will go out on the main LR, which is on our physical device, our main, our 2 main plugs. So you'll see that my microphone volume is all the way down on this screen, and my stream PC is up and my game PC is up. So that means these 2 devices, the stream PC and the game PC, will be going out on main left right. So at the moment, nothing is going out on main left right because there's no audio coming from the game PC or the stream PC. If I do a test sound on the game PC, you'll see that that's coming out of the main left right. Let me do it again. Keep an eye over here on the right hand side. So that's going out on main left right. So how does my microphone get out to the stream PC? That is on bus 6. So I've configured bus 6, and that's based on this auxiliary 6 on our output. If you recall, my output from auxiliary 6 was going through to the microphone in on the Stream PC. So if I click on bus 6 as an output, it changes the whole layout of my channels. So for bus 6, the layout is microphone volume is up, but game PC and Stream PC volumes are all the way down. So now as I talk, you can see my output on bus 6 is being actually sent out of the mixer. If I click back on main left right, audio for my microphone is not going out. Bus 6, it is going out. The last thing to cover is what we hear in our speakers and our headphones. You'll recall that I plugged in physical plugs 1 and 2, auxiliary 1, 2, 3 and 4. They were speakers 1 and 2 and headphones 3 and 4. But first, let's talk about what you actually want to hear while you're streaming. You don't want to hear your microphone at all. You do want to hear the game PC. You do want to hear audio coming from the Stream PC, but you don't really want to hear yourself talking. You want to hear that when you're setting things up and adjusting your levels. But once you got the levels right, you don't want to hear yourself because it can throw you off. So pretty much that sounds exactly like the input that the Stream PC gets. And that input is main LR. We spoke about this before. So main LR is not picking up the microphone. That's all the way down. It is picking up the Stream PC and it is picking up the game PC. So with that in mind, all you do is go to the auxiliary out and you find auxiliary 1 and 2 and you set it to pick up its output from main LR. And that's what I've done there, left and right for auxiliary 1 and 2. And I've duplicated that for auxiliary 3 and 4. So both the headphone and speakers pick up the exact same audio, and that's all configured from main LR. So that's pretty much it. That's how it's all routed and configured in the software. All the levels, obviously, I've adjusted them to my liking. You'd adjust yours to your own liking, and you go from there. So look, I hope that helped you out. This may not be specific to your needs, but the idea here was to just give you the basic concepts, so that will help you going forward when you create your own mixer setup. If you did like the video, make sure you hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.